Hello and welcome to this presentation. I'm Louise Hull. I'm a Senior Research Associate working within the Centre for Implementation Science at King's College London. Today I'll be presenting findings from a scoping and critical review of the literature that aim to understand how pragmatism as a quality and measurement construct of quantitative implementation instruments is defined, described and appraised. Over the past few years, the pragmatic quality of quantitative implementation instruments has received increased attention. The reasoning behind the drive for pragmatic measures is that implementation instruments that are not deemed to be pragmatic by stakeholders will only be of value and limited to use within the context of well-resourced research settings. The overarching aim of this review was to contribute to the conceptual clarification of pragmatism as a measurement construct and quality of implementation measures. Specifically, we aim to identify and critically appraise the published literature to understand how pragmatism is defined as a measurement construct and quality of implementation determinant and outcome instruments, how pragmatic qualities of instruments are appraised, and in doing so identify key gaps and limitations of the current evidence base and identify recommendations for future research. We conducted a scoping and critical review of the literature. PubMed and PsycInfo databases were searched for relevant articles that were published between January 2010 and September 2020. Articles that contained a definition or described characteristics of pragmatism, of quantitative implementation outcome and/or implementation determinant instruments were eligible for inclusion. In total, 9 articles met inclusion criteria. We found a degree of overlap relating to how pragmatism is defined and the terms used to describe pragmatism as a measurement construct of implementation determinant outcome instruments. The 5 most frequently used terms to describe pragmatism were not burdensome, brief, reliable, valid, and sensitive to change. Less frequently used terms included practical, ability to be tailored, appropriate, important to stakeholders, and can be used for benchmarking. 3 of the 9 articles employed specific methods to define and conceptualize pragmatism, including a systematic review of the literature, stakeholder interviews, concept mapping, and a Delphi process. We found limited diversity in the stakeholders involved in defining and conceptualizing pragmatism, with the majority working in mental and behavioural health and based in high-income countries, predominantly in the US. Specifically, we did not identify any stakeholders from low or middle-income countries that have contributed to the definition and conceptualisation of pragmatism. We only identified one scale that has been developed to assess the pragmatic qualities above and beyond the psychometric qualities of implementation measures. This was the Psychometric and Pragmatic Evidence Rating Scale. In conclusion, although the evidence base within the implementation literature on what pragmatism is and how it might be assessed is limited, some of the work that we identified in this review provides a strong foundation to build upon. Specifically, we recommend that a wider diversity of implementation stakeholders should be involved in defining and conceptualizing pragmatism. This will likely have implications on how the pragmatic qualities of implementation measures are appraised.